Good morning, everyone. Oh, we're not quite in shot there, are we? We go up a bit. There you are, in shot now. Now, the funny sort of hue over here is trying to get enough light in here because, as most of you say, it's not a very nice day today, and so therefore it's grey and overcast and a bit miserable. So I'm sorry about that, but good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me. Morning, Fiona, Heather, June, Anne, Sarah, Pat, Anne, another Pat, Margaret, Teresa, Jane, another Fiona, Nicola, Stella. Nice to see you, Stella. Jeanette, Carol. Lovely to see you all here, and thank you very much for joining me on Fancy Friday. A little bit of what you fancy does you good, and I'm going out of my comfort zone here because gone away for Christmas for a bit because we'll be back to Christmas on Sunday, but I fancied having a bit of a go with some new products that are new to me, and I thought you might like to have a go as well. So what I'm going to do today is work with, now these aren't new, Pixie powders, and I know a lot of you have got these in your stash that you've probably never used, so let's get some of them out. And I'm working with a new stamp, which is the new woodware stamps, either Clematis or Zinnia, which are a similar sort of background stamp, which I'm quite liking to use. So 5x7 cards, and let's have a go. Let's see what we can achieve. So now, first of all, I'm going to use this watercolor card. Now I have to say, first and foremost, I do not have this for sale. I treated myself because it isn't the cheapest, and I'm being very sparing with this one because this is called, let me get you the packet so that you can see, this is called, whoops, Bockingford watercolor paper, and it is the hot press one. Apparently they do it in cold as well. Hot press means it's a smoother finish, and I think I'm right in saying that the 20 sheets A4 were about £10.99, I think. So it's not the cheapest, but oh, dropped it on the floor. Oh, too precious to drop on the floor. But this works very, very well, and not a lot of warp, and yeah, it's good. It's good. So let us get on. Now, first of all, I'm going to use my stamp, and I've already popped it onto my press. I'm going to have to be careful that you don't get a lot of glare. Gosh, can't win, can you? So I've popped it onto here, and I'm going to stamp this with just some Versamark or Wow embossing powder, same difference. I'm going to try and get it a bit more central than I've got it at the moment. So I'm going to do a bit of resist embossing, and what that means is we're going to stamp it in white on white, and then when we put the colour over, the embossed part will show through, so it's a bit of a resist to it. So normally I would go all over with my anti-static, but I'm not going to bother because, all honesty, you can see from the other card that you couldn't really see whether you had done it or not. So it's getting out of a habit, which isn't good, but I'm going to go with it nevertheless. So I'm going over with my embossing ink. So either your Wow or Perfect Medium or the Eyes ink. Just going all over so that I've got a nice coverage. And then I'm going straight over onto my watercolour card. Watercolour because I'm going to add water to it rather than ordinary. I've used Pixie powders in a lot of different setups, whether they be ordinary card or whatever. And I have to say that although you can use it in any sort of card, I have found that this one has worked out the best by far. So just making sure there's quite a lot of detail on this. So just going to make sure I'm going over it properly. And then whilst I've still got that there, I'm going to also stamp this bottom flower here, this large bottom flower, again onto this piece of card. So let's just make sure I get it all. Yeah, that'd be the best way to go about it. So I'm going to do that in the same way. Okay. So just concentrating on that bottom flower for that, and just pop that onto this bit. Okay. And then I'm going to take some white. I think that was not quite enough. Let me just check that that's right. I'm going to take some white embossing powder. I'm going to sprinkle that onto my two pieces here. Just find a scrap bit of card on which to do it. So I've got some white embossing powder. Now, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to see this very well at all. So I do apologise about that. But it will reveal, but not quite yet. So let's just... Now, can we see? Can if I hold it there. You see? It's very pretty, isn't it? Very detailed. So that's that piece, and be carefully put that to one side while I just put the powder over this separate one here, because I want to do this flower, but I want to cut this one out. So again, I can just about see if I hold it there. Now then, don't do what I did yesterday. What I did yesterday was I then picked up this without taking the powder off and consequently threw it all over myself. Not a good plan. So there we go. There's our powder. There's our lid hidden underneath there. Right, so now I'm going to take my heat gun and just going to turn that on, and I'm just going to dry and heat set both of these pieces. And just get that up to going. Again, I'm afraid you're not going to easily be able to see this, so I do apologise for that. So I hope you're all well. Looks like you are. Looks like you're not moaning. Did I swear when I knocked it all on the floor? Well, as if. Words to that effect. Again, I'm not quite sure if you can see, so I'm sorry. This is a boring bit. Well, boring if you're watching, not boring if you're doing. I love it. We're just making sure that it sets everywhere so that I've embossed all over. And then whilst we've got that noise on, just go over this one as well. Obviously you could use any image. I just fancied using some of the newer products, that's all. Mix with the old with the new. So there's that round gone. So I'm going to pop that to one side because we don't need that one for the moment. We need this little one. So again, you probably can't see that very well at all just now. So I do apologise for that, but you will soon. So now I'm going to get some of my masking tape, and so I've got a craft mat that my page is on, and I'm going to tape my piece of card down to my actual mask, down to my mat, so that it doesn't erase. Okay, that's obviously, it's a little bit curly because I've already got my powders on there. So as I say, I'm sure many of you will have had Pixie powders. They're a product that's been out about 4 or 5 years, or gosh, maybe even longer than that. I don't know. Not one that I've used all that often, to be fair. So I thought, let's have another go. So there we are. I've stuck that down onto my mat, and I'm only stuck it onto the mat because it makes it a bit easier. I could have a glass mat or whatever. I am going to be trimming it down, so if you haven't got masking tape, that would be fine as well. So I'm going to go wet on wet because I found that that worked better.
So I'm going to use a bottle of water and I'm going to spray over my piece of card first of all, so quite liberally over there. And I'm then going to use a couple of other colours. So the other colours I used just now were peacock green and teal wash. And I'm now going to use scarlet mist and purple violet. So again, just a bit different. So they come in a bottle which is filled with powder. And they're a bit unusual because what's actually in them, so you think purple violet, what will that come out like? And it might not necessarily come out how you think. So I'm going to tap the bottle as I go all over the surface like that. And you can see that some of it, where there was water, it will already have reacted very slightly. So I'm then going to go over with this, I'm going to mix the two, go over with a bit of scarlet mist as well, like so. So just tapping the bottle to get the powders out. Then I'm going to add a bit more water. Now, if you were using other watercolours or ordinary papers, you would have to be a bit careful how much water, how much extra water you wanted to use. But it depends on whatever you fancy. So you can see I'm using quite a bit. And as I start to use more and more, the actual powders will start to move around a bit more. So I'm using a lot of water. And you can see that is, can you now see where the flower was? Or is, not was. So you can start to see it moving a little bit. Okay. So I'm just going to let it react just a little bit more than that. And I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's pooling a little bit. And so the colours are mixing and you can start to see those colours behind it. Okay, so I'm then going to take some kitchen roll and I'm going to dab the surface. So I've got a pale surface there. So pale behind. Whoops. Don't really want to do it quite like that. Okay. And then I'm going to take my heat gun and I'm just going to put that on a cooler setting and I'm just going to dry this off. So I'm sorry about the noise, but we just need to dry that off. And as you can see, as you're drying it off, hopefully you can see, the flower comes even more to the forefront. And Pixie powder's got a lot of sort of mica in it, so it's a very twinkly. It's starting to twinkle as it is setting there. So any colour combination, but as I said, they might come out a bit different than you think. Some of them come out hugely different than you think. But I think these are fairly true to what they should be. So I've kept it taped down so that the warping is minimised because we don't want very much warping. But again, I have found with this Bockingford watercolour, it is very different. So this is out of my comfort zone, this is, to do something messy and mucky. But you could do with just ordinary colours. I just thought we'd have a play, that's all. So just make sure that that is all tickety-boo dry, which it more or less is, despite all that water. I'm just going to wipe off my mat so that I don't get it everywhere. That's mainly water. And I'm just going to take off my pieces of masking tape. So I'm going to trim this down. Okay, whoops. So let me just hold that up now. And hopefully, though, you can see that this flower is shining through from there. And I'm not sure if you can you see how much mica is in there, that it is shining as well. So really quite a nice finish. So then we're going to go over to our flower, and I'm not going to tape this one down. I don't need to tape this one down because I want it to run a bit more. So I'm going to add water to it first. So give it a good old soaking. And then I'm just going to add my let's see what we should go with. Purple violet, I think. We'll go with purple violet. And we're going to shake that onto there. And so in this case, I'm just making sure that my Pixie powder goes just onto that flower. Okay. So can you see that the water that I put on there, and a fair bit of it, I'm going to add a bit more because I can see that not all of the powder is reacting. So I just want to make sure that that is really, really vivid. Okay, like that. Now, whilst it is like that, I'm then going to get my heat gun. So I've not taken any of the excess off of here. So there's a lot of water to dry off. But if you can, bear with it. And if you've got a decent paper here, it doesn't take too long to do. So you can see that I've used the same Pixie powders, but because I haven't dabbed this one off, I've got a really, really strong colour. Making sure that all those big pools have dried off before I stop. And let's just take, oh, I think that's all done. Don't need that one anyway, so not too bad there. Okay, so now with this one, I'm going to trim it out. So let me just cut roughly round, first of all. So I'm just trimming around this one clematis, and I'm making sure that the little area of powder I am still keeping, and I'm going to cut down almost to the center so that I've got a nice ability to be able to make these petals stick up. Whoops, mold up. So let's just stick this one down. So just cutting all of the little petals individually, and where I can. I don't need to be completely very, very careful when I'm cutting down the centers, because I'm just making sure that the petals will actually move is the most important thing. As I say, Fancy Friday, I can do what I like, and I just fancied having a play. So that's what we fancy today. So don't forget, whilst I'm cutting this out, don't forget that tomorrow at 9 o'clock starts our Silver Saturday sales. We don't do black here. We only do silver, well, and gold. And I've got some nice little products on there for you to either treat yourself or also for you to get, a really good bargain. Mystery boxes will be on there. They are very limited. So if you do want those, get yourself up early, 9 o'clock. It will all go live at that time. It will not be on there before. I just hope it will be then, really, but the computer tells me it will be, so let's believe the computer. Okay, so you can see I've now cut out, and because I've cut each of these individual petals, I will be able to mold it just a little bit. So I'm just going to fold them up individually so that it gives it a little bit of a movement like that. So I don't need those little bits there. So as I said, we're going to do a 5x7 card. So here is my 5x7 card. And although I call it 5x7, I just want to check what it is. So it's 12.5 by 18, I think, isn't it? Yeah, 12.5 by 18. So let's do 5.5. You know, let's be sensible. Let's be sensible. Let's do 5x7 because we know it's 5x7. So my first layer, I need to decide which colour the mat is going to be on. So because I've done it in these two colours, I could do it or either in a reddy colour or a mauvey colour. But I think that because I've got my flower in a mauve, I think that I'm going to go with mauve. So I'm going to take my card and I'm going to cut this out to, so 5 by 7. So we want this one at 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. So that's my first layer. And then I need to trim this bit down to 4.5 by 6.5. So obviously my pattern there was in the middle-ish, but we just got to trim it down to wherever we think, I think. So let's go there. No, I'm just going to trim that a second time because that's not quite, I want it to be more central. I just trim that piece off there. So that's now 4.5, and we need to trim this bit down, and this is going to be to 6.5. Six and a half, like so. Okay, there we go. Now I am going to save this little bit here, so I'm not going to throw that bit away. So I'm then going to pop my layers down. So here's my first layer, which was the 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. Pop a little bit of glue on the back there. And pop that into place like so. Trying to make it give a straight line. And then I'm going to take this one. And this one was 4.5 by 6.5. And because you can, hopefully you can see, there's no warp on that at all. So although it's watercolour and how much water I put on it, the Bockingford watercolour card just, well, it's the bee's knees really, I've decided. Just going to turn that over to push it down properly. But there's hardly any warping. And I think you can agree that I really smothered it in water. So my flower is down here, my biggest flower. If you look at that, you can see he's just about there. And so this little beauty, the one that I cut out, he's going to go on top. So a little bit of glue just in the centre. And he is just going to go just on the top, just like that. And then with this little bit that I've got left over, I'm going to take one of the, don't know what they're called. Hold on a second. The sentiments that is called word fragments, this one. Word fragments. Okay, so I'm going to get one of my hold on. Yeah, Fantasia, which is one of the VersaFine Clairs, and I'm going to stamp up onto my scrap piece here, just about there. And the Fantasia is the sort of purpley colour, so it will pick up that quite nicely. Okay, then I'm going to take my larger scissors and I'm going to trim that down using just my scissors, because I do find that that's with a large pair of scissors and a not too large sentiment, I do find that easier to cut out than trying to fiddle about with it in the trimmer, to be honest. But if you are happy to fiddle, then by all means fiddle. So I'm just going to cut that down, giving a little border. Oh, like that. Get rid of my bits there. And then with my little piece of mauve, purple, whatever we call it. Just going to stick that directly onto that corner, but I'm being a bit of a cheat because I'm giving myself a little bit of a border all the way around there already, so that I've actually only got to cut two sides now, like that, and then whoops, like that. And the glue wants to squirt out, but that will dry clear anyway, and I can always rub that off if I want to. Then I'm just going to pop myself a little bit of tape, foam tape, onto the back of there, like so. And bring my card back into shot, and I'm going to stick my sentiment there. Do you remember Bernie the Bolt? I know that really is showing my age, but do you remember that on the Golden Shot, Bernie the Bolt? And you had, and was it Anne Ashdown or something like that? No, Anne Ashdown, and somebody or other who was on with Bernie the Bolt, and they had to, she said, down a bit, left a bit. I can't help it. And Aston, that's right, Aston. Did you? Lynn, you met her. Fame at last. I used to like that on a was it on a Sunday? It's one of those sort of Sunday afternoon programs that you remember. Yeah, up a bit, left a bit. Fire. That's what they used to say. Fire. Anyway, we could go off on a tangent there, couldn't we? So let me bring in the other card. Now, we know what it's like. We don't have very good lighting here. You can see that they're different colours, but they don't look all that good in different. They don't. Sorry. No, of course they look wonderful. That's not what I meant to say. They look better, and when I show you the pictures later on, you'll see the difference. Hold on a minute, I've got to read this. She opened the Woolworths and I was off school for a dental appointment, so Mum let me go. Well, that goes to show how long ago it was as well, doesn't it? Because Woolworths is not even here anymore either. Anyway, we digress. So, Pixie powders, not for everybody and not for every occasion. And different people use them in different ways, without a shadow of a doubt. But I do find that they're good fun to play with. They do make a nice background. As I say, if we look at this one again, you've got the blues. So this one was the teal and, oh goodness me, what was it? Teal and peacock green. Yeah, peacock green. And the other one was that I've actually made with you is the scarlet mist and the purple violet. So they've all got different colours in there, and they look different in different ways if you use more of one, and you're never going to get the same thing twice. And with the embossed resist, all sorts of things look nice in the background, but this just gives you a nice background stamp. Very, very pretty. You could have just left it like that, or you could have just taken the, you can paint with the Pixie powders as well, mixing them obviously with water first, and then you could have painted it in. But again, just showing you with these that it's the same product used in the flowers there as it is on the background, just in a different way. So, as I said, let's recap on what there are very few Pixie powders left anymore now, but there are a few on the website with some of the new flowers as well. So if you fancied having a go and you haven't got those products, there are some there for you. So Silver Saturday tomorrow, the 28th of November at 9 o'clock, starts on the maximumcrafts.com website with all your bargains. Then I will be back on Sunday morning with a Christmas take, which should be fun to use. And then I will be back again. Will I be back again? Yes, I will. Yes. Yeah, I've got to take my dad to the hospital, but at the moment that's Tuesday. But you never know, do you? You never know. So I hope you have a really good day. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you either tomorrow or Sunday. Take care, everyone. Thank you. Bye. It was.